Hello, welcome to this DCS A-18C tutorial. In this video, I'll be talking about the second method of employing Harpoon anti-ship missiles, and that will be the BOL bearing on launch method. I will be covering two separate submodes, HPTP Harpoon turn point and FXP fixed point. To begin, I've already equipped and warmed up the harpoons, and we can set our options. So I'll set the flight, medium, term, skim on the left one, and on the right, flight, medium, turn, pop. We can also set our search and our destroy distances, so I'll go ahead and do that so they both match. Search, 10 miles after I fire it. Self-destruct, the max of 170. And now we have the third option, bearing, that goes with bearing on launch mode. So without HPTP or FXP selected, harpoon turn point or fixed point, the harpoon will automatically turn to the bearing we have set as soon as we release it from the rails. So we can see that on our HSI. If we released it right here, it would just go to 0 degrees to the north right when we launched it. We can see this small line indicating where it starts to search, and a line out here indicating where it will self-destruct. I'll change the search zone so you can see it easier. I'll go 30 miles. And you can see that line has now moved, so it will start to search for a target after it hits that point. That's pretty self-explanatory. So we get up, we wait for our in-zone cue on the HUD, fire it, and it will turn itself and then just go in that direction and look for the first ship it sees. So we're going to be talking about harpoon turn point and fixed point. Harpoon turn point utilizes a waypoint to turn the harpoon to the bearing you set. So if we were flying straight right here, we have harpoon turn point selected. We launch the harpoon, it would fly towards our waypoint and then go on the bearing we set. Searching here, destructing here. Before I forget, I'll put the search back to 10. So this waypoint I have set is right here. Right here. So I want it on our harpoon turn point mode. I want it to fly here and then go in this direction and look for a naval target. So this would be 15 degrees. So let's go ahead and program in that bearing. 1, 5, enter. So now it will fly to the waypoint and then turn 15 degrees and look for a target between this line and engage the first thing it sees, according to the parameters we set under flight and term. All of these settings need to be set on a per missile basis, so now that this one is saved as a harpoon turn point, I will step the missile and set the next one to a fixed point. Fixed point will have the harpoon turn at a halfway point between its search and its destruct distances. So halfway between them, this fixed point, it will turn to the bearing we set it. So let's go ahead and set a bearing. So once it hits here, it would turn to 3-6. So we can set this in the air depending on how we are flying. All right, with all of that prep done, let's go ahead and get up in the air. Alrighty, now that we're in the air, let's get set up to launch our harpoon in BOL bearing on launch mode. So I'll get air to ground. I'm first going to select my harpoon, utilizing the harpoon turn point at the waypoint, and I'll verify one more time that my configuration is how I like it. So I'm just going to fly towards the targets, 312-ish. And I know my waypoint's here, so I want it to fly about 015. Bearing, 15, enter. So that's all set. And now it's giving me an error, destroy range. It's telling me that the range for the destroy is not quite appropriate. So I will go ahead and change that. Let's go 60. There we go. Now I have an end zone. So I will go ahead and fire my harpoon. And now it's going to go ahead and fly itself to the waypoint and then over to the targets. We can check in with that later. Now let's worry about the fixed point. So the fixed point sets itself whenever we click fixed point. So if I click fixed point now, it utilizes the bearing based on our aircraft, the halfway point between. So let's say, let's point ourselves towards it, 325. Change our destroy range because we're getting the destroy range error. They're closer than 70, so that works. And let's update this. So instead of going straight out that way, let's make it 343 and see what happens. Usually you're just going to want to use harpoon turn point. It's more predictable and programmable, but you can play with fixed point just to see what you like. All right, fixed point is selected and we'll launch it. And we'll see what happens. At this point, I can just turn, go home, and allow the cruise missiles to do their thing. Let's get myself set up so I don't crash. Alright, that should be good. So here we can see this harpoon is going off in the direction I set, the 343, and this harpoon is traveling towards the waypoint I set, and then will turn itself over. So I'll just keep the map up so we can see what they do. Remember, this one is going for the waypoint I set. It's going for this waypoint, and then we'll turn in to the programmed bearing there. And this one, utilizing the fixed point method, is flying on the bearing that I programmed, and then halfway between the search and the destroy range, it will then start to move. All right, it looks like this guy has possibly found a target, and he might be moving towards this. At that halfway point, he activated and started to search. This one is still moving towards the waypoint. Let's see what this one's up to. Maybe it'll find something, maybe it won't. Check in with that in a second. I want to show you that once this hits the waypoint, it's going to turn. We can see the heading changing down here, and it's starting to curve itself around. You can spectate it quickly, and we see that it's turning itself. So usually you'll use the Harpoon turn point to get around obstacles or around friendly ships. So say I was back here and I fired it, I could send it towards a waypoint here, and then turn it into this group of ships here. Or maybe there was a vessel or SAM site that could shoot it down. I could route it around it into a target area. So this guy's still turning itself. Oh, now it's on heading 1-5. So now it's going to maintain heading 1-5 and look for the first thing it sees and attack it. These ships have been moving. With some proper planning and knowledge of the speed of the ships, you can calculate that in. So I could have told it to go instead 0-3-5, but based on the heading we gave it, it should be doing all right. It'll run into these tankers out here. Our fixed point Harpoon has targeted the Elnia, and it looks like it's going to hit. This was our pop-up attack. It popped itself up, and it's going to attempt to attack it from above. Very effective. Now we have our Harpoon turn point. It has changed its heading, so it probably found something it liked. It is now 0-2-1 instead of the 0-1-5. It looks like it picked the ship that we already destroyed, so maybe it'll hit it too. With any luck, it'll change course and go after the one that's still alive. But this is one of the things you risk when you utilize one of these methods. They're long range, throw them in a cluster, see what they hit kind of munitions. Um, if you use the method from the first, you can choose a specific target that you want it to fly to, and ideally it'll hit that. But if there's still ships clumped around it, it might hit any of those ships in the area. Alright, that ship is no longer up, so we'll see what this does. With any luck, it'll turn towards that, but we'll see. Well, looks like it's going to go right past it and hit nothing. So it'll either collide with terrain or it'll self-destruct. Give it an extra second. Oh, looks like it might have found something. It's changing its heading. Nope. Into the water it goes. Alright. That is a good example of Harpoon turn point and fixed point methods. Harpoon turn point is more programmable and predictable. If our fixed point didn't hit that ship, it would have went and gotten that one. But you could see and experiment and determine what you like for the situation at hand. Alright, that covers everything for BOL, bearing on launch. Keep in mind, you don't need to use a harpoon turn point or a fixed point. If you don't use either of those options and you set a bearing, it will just turn that bearing as soon as you launch it and then start looking for something after your set search distance. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.